Chapter 1430. Feng Wuhui Tianya v Feng Ruching nodded slightly. Yes, it just so happens that he also has something to talk to you about, so I'll leave you guys alone for now. Xi looked back at Nanxian and gave him a warning look before she whirled around and headed down the mountain. Xi really did not know how to hide her emotions. She was so naive and looked silly. Feng Ruching stared at Xi's back for a few moments before turning to Nanxian. What did Xi just say to you? Things that she doesn't want to tell me? Well, Nanxian responded as he lifted his hand to pull Feng Ruching into his arms, smiling gently. There's nothing you can't know. A naive woman who gave birth to a son who would not lie every time he faced Feng Ruching. Her plan would never work. Oh. Feng Ruching narrowed her eyes and smiled. So what were you guys talking about just now? It's about Feng Wuhui. Feng Wuhui. He was the supreme emperor of Lu Yun Kingdom, a legendary figure who once shook the reclusive world. Back then he was forced into another place and had no return, so he had never come back. Back then the place where Feng Wuhui went was a place called the Land of No Return. This place you should have heard of. Nanxian smiled. Before that, countless skilled masters also went to that world. But those who went there did not come back, that's why it is called the Land of No Return. I've heard that going to the Land of No Return requires at least the strength of Holy Warrior. Therefore many people are unable to go there, and those who have made a breakthrough to Holy Warrior tier. There are extremely few of them who have the courage to step into that place. The man's eyes landed on the young girl's body and his tone was indifferent. After all, the fact that so many people have gone there and not a single person has returned shows the danger. Feng Ruching did not speak, quietly listening to Nanxian's words. She knew about the Land of No Return when she heard that Feng Wuhui was still alive, but she understood that what Nanxian had said to her was not just about that place. There must be something else there. Me for extra chapters. Until one day one of them used a spirit mirror to tell everyone in the entire mainland the danger of the Land of No Return. He had regretted for the rest of his life, not wanting anyone else to enter that world with him. Nanxian paused for a moment and continued. That person is the previous master of the Divine Herbs sect. Feng Ruching stroked her chin. Then, later Feng Wuhui was forced to enter the Land of No Return, and not long after the path to that place was sealed. No one can pass through it again. Feng Ruching's eyes flickered. State Preceptor, are you telling me all these? Is there another way to get to the Land of No Return? Well, Nanxian rubbed Feng Ruching's head. There is indeed a place where we can go there to get through the Land of No Return. What Xi said to me just now is related to this, and that place was found by her. She also told us not to have too much contact with the spirit beasts for fear of danger. Feng Ruching was speechless. Oh, there's one more thing. She asked me not to tell you, but I can't hide it from my Qing'a, so naturally I'll tell you all. Feng Ruching was speechless again. Looks like Xi has been betrayed by her son. Feng Ruching frowned and chanted for a moment. She won't let us have too much contact with the spirit beasts? Is it dangerous? I've heard the old master talk about Xi being an orphan, and he never told me where she came from. Could it be that she's from the Land of No Return? Chapter 1431. Feng Wuhui Tianya 6. Nanxian nodded a little. Maybe it's related to the spirit beast clan. Xi isn't a spirit beast. He's human. She can't be from the spirit beast clan. Maybe her enemy is related to the spirit beast clan? And very close to the spirit beast? That's about right. She's not quite willing to let us go to Land of No Return, but Feng Wuhui is there, so she cannot stop us. Feng Ruching said no more after hearing these words. Her eyes carried an unreadable light as if she was contemplating. Crack. Just then the sound of an object landing on the ground broke the silence, causing Feng Ruching to turn her head to look. Standing not far away was an ugly girl with a disfigured face. No one could see how she looked before her face was disfigured. But she had a perfect figure, slim and adorable. Xiaoye, you've just recovered from your injuries. Why are you out working again? Just let the Snow Wolf and the others do these things. For some reason, when faced with this mute girl, Feng Ruching always had a little pity. She felt somewhat familiar with this girl that made it impossible for Feng Ruching not to feel sorry for her. Xiaoye was a little panicked as she squatted down, trying to pick up the box of spirit herbs on the ground, afraid that she had just broken the box. Xiaoye. Feng Ruching looked at Xiaoye, who had picked up the spirit herbs, and asked, Did you react like that just now when you heard us mention Land of No Return? Do you know anything about that place? Xiao Ya's fingers stiffened. She pursed her lips and nodded. You don't want us to go to Land of No Return either? Feng Ruqing stared at Xiao Ya and asked. Xiao Ya froze and shook her head. She bit her lip and pulled out a piece of candy from her pocket. She pointed at the candy and shook her head. Candy. Feng Ruqing was silent, perhaps thinking again about what Xiao Ya was trying to say. He was somewhat confused. Candy? Tang? You mean Tang Yin? Me for extra chapters. Xiao Ya's eyes lit up and she nodded desperately. You mean tell Tang Yin not to follow me to Land of No Return? Xiao Ya continued to nod. A bit of hope flashed in her eyes. If Feng Ruqing wanted to leave, Tang Yin would catch up sooner or later. She did not want her to set foot in that place. Xiao Ya thought about it and pointed to herself. Her dark eyes were suddenly glowing brightly. You want to follow me there? And to tell Tang Yin not to go? Feng Ruqing walked toward Xiao Ya. Xiao Ya, I've always wanted to ask a question. Do you and Tang Yin have some kind of relationship? She seemed to act weird the first time you saw her. Xiao Ya panicked and hurriedly shook her head. Feng Ruqing ignored Xiao Ya this time. She walked straight to her side and pulled up her sleeve. There was an ordinary bracelet on Xiao Ya's wrist, nothing special about it. Xiao Ya, initially I didn't want to ask anything more. From the first day you followed me I knew your identity. This bracelet is used to hide the spirit beast scent. Even the strongest person can't detect it. Feng Ruqing did not notice it either, but Fuqin was a spirit herb and was inherently sensitive to smell. Therefore nothing could be hidden from him. Xiao Ya panicked even more. Her face turned pale as she took a few steps back. And Tang Yin, the Tang family elders told me that she's a beast man. Xiao Ya, I wouldn't have asked too much about what you and she were before, but Tang Yin is my friend and I don't want her to be in danger. Chapter 1432. Feng Wuhui Tianya 7. She cared about Tang Yin because she had been an important person in Feng Ruqing's life. She would not let her life be in any danger. Xiao Ya bit her lip hard, her body trembling. Seeing her like this, Feng Ruqing felt a little heavy-hearted. She raised her hand to brush the woman's hair off of her face and sighed lightly. Xiao Ya, I want to know about Tang Yin back then. The person who has handed Tang Yin over to the Tang family's second master, was it you? Xiao Ya was startled as she stared at Feng Ruqing for a few moments. The young girl's face was calmed and gentle. It was something that she could not resist. She nodded. Nanxian was standing behind Feng Ruqing all this while. His gaze fixed upon Feng Ruqing's hand on Xiao Ya's head. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Seems like it would be better to let Qing'er have less contact with women in the future. She continues this way. I don't know how many more girls will fall for her. Are you from Land of No Return? Feng Ruqing continued to ask. Xiao Ya bit her lip and nodded. Is Tang Yin's father someone from Land of No Return? Feng Ruqing remained calm. Xiao Ya nodded again. Then are you hurt like this because of her father? This time Xiao Ya nodded first and paused for a moment before she shook her head. Feng Ruqing could not understand whether Tang Yin's father had done that to her face. The last question, if Tang Yin goes to Land of No Return, will she be in danger? She had not forgotten what Elder Tang Yi had said to her. Tang Yin was a powerful beast man, and if she was captured and double cultivated she would definitely be able to boost people's strength. That was why the second master of the Tang family had set up a seal within her body so that even if she had this power she could not use it. Only in this way she could live her life in peace and joy. After all, the second master of the Tang family was a genius, but it was a pity that he had died too early. Otherwise he would definitely be as strong as Tianya. Me for extra chapters. Xiao Ya quickly nodded, and this time she nodded harder than ever. I see. Feng Ruqing turned to Xiao Ya. Do you trust me? Xiao Ya was startled and nodded. He trusted her. He would trust her forever. Okay, since you trust me, I'll unseal Tang Yin before I leave Tsangyu mainland this time. Ever since Elder Tang Yi had said those words, it was not that she could not remove the seal for Tang Yin, but she simply could not bring herself to do so. Tang Yin was a beast man. Her life would be miserable if people noticed her strength. Back then she was not too powerful to take risks. She would always let Tang Yin hide behind her. But now, Tang Yin's real identity had changed her. Xiao Ya was silent. She chose to give Tang Yin away because she wanted Tang Yin to be safe and free. Even more, it was also her request to that human to set a seal on Tang Yin. Xiaoya, I would not care too much if I didn't know her origins. But now that I know, I can also see that in the future Xiao Yin is destined to be in Land of No Return. I hadn't thought of taking her this time, but she can't escape since she's from that place. She'll return to that place sooner or later. Feng Ruqing looked at Xiaoya as she continued. She can't even fight back or run away if the people of that place come for her. So why not allow her to improve her strength while there's still time? Chapter 1433. Feng Wuhui Tianya 8. She has the power and I have herbal dishes. Am confident enough to make her strength grow in a short period of time. Even if she's not an opponent at that moment, she has a chance to escape instead of being very passive all the time. More importantly, no one in Songyu mainland would dare to touch her anymore. So now was the safest moment, and it would give Tang Yin enough time to improve herself. In such a short period, she naturally would not expect Tang Yin to grow as strong as she could, but at least, he had to have the strength to escape. She could protect Tang Yin for a moment but not for a lifetime. There would always be times when she would be negligent, and Tang Yin could only help her for the rest of her life with her own strength. This was the truth that she had understood since she came to Songyu mainland. Xiaoyu was somewhat stunned. She did not hesitate anymore and nodded firmly. You can follow me to Land of No Return. You go and get ready. We'll leave in a few days. Perhaps hearing that she would return to that place again, Xiao Ya's body trembled, but she still turned around firmly and headed down the mountain. In Land of No Return. In downtown there was an ancient manor with live stone lions at the entrance. They stared fiercely at the pedestrians coming and going. In the hall, an old master was lazily leaning on the rosewood carved chair with a snow-white kitten lying in his arms. A young man stood at the side with a sword in his hand. He stared at the old master for half a day without moving. After a moment of silence he asked, "Master, what should we do with that bastard Jia Exan?" The old master's hand jerked the cat. He was dressed in bright red. "That bastard bullied my cat and I'll never let him go for the rest of my life. Tomorrow you feed him some special medicine and find some more women to put in front of him. He can only watch them but can't touch them. I want him to suffer." The young man's mouth twitched suddenly. "Master, can you think of some kind of physical torture? Like dripping wax oil, whipping or pinching his fingers? Me for extra chapters. The punishment that you have given him is too light." But the young man thought for a while. Maybe it's even crueler to Jia Exin to only see those women but not touch them. Besides, he would have to be fed with the medicine and would be worse off than dead. By the way, the old master Tianya finally lifted his head and looked at the young man. "Lianqing, you're not so young anymore, are you?" The young man was stunned and slightly hesitant. "Master is asking this because, oh, it's nothing. I see that the little girl of the Hellion family seems to be interested in you. If you're not interested in her, you should quickly make it clear to her. But if you're interested, I will set it up for you." The young man smiled bitterly. "Master, I just want to stay with Master. I'm not thinking about marriage for the time being and I've already rejected her. Moreover, I've even avoided her and I'll try to stay away from her without hurting her." "All right." Tianya nodded appreciatively. "You're a good man. You know how to make your own decision. If you don't like it, just say you don't like it. It's a pity that I don't have a daughter. Otherwise, if you don't mind her age, I'd like to fix her up with you." The young man was speechless. "Master, even if you had a daughter, she would be old enough to be a mother to me, right? I don't know if my bad son has given me a grandchild." Tianya sighed. "If I had a granddaughter, I could set you guys up. It's alright, just forget about it. So what if I do have a grandchild? I can't see them again anyway." Chapter 1434. Feng Lianqing. The young man was speechless. Master's granddaughter. He could hardly imagine what she would be like. "Master, if there's nothing else, I'll leave now." "All right. You go down first and don't forget to feed the cat for me." The old master Tianya waved his hand and said calmly. Feng Lianqing did a fist and palm salute and retreated. Who knew that as soon as he stepped outside the hall, he immediately saw a little girl coming from a short distance away. This little girl was short but beautiful. Her pair of eyebrows were curved, especially when she smiled. It was like stars in the sky. "Brother Lianqing." Feng Lianqing just wanted to walk away. Who knew that the girl saw him at once and smiled even more brightly. She was like a butterfly that could not be caught as she pounced toward Feng Lianqing. Feng Lianqing hurriedly sidestepped and dodged. Maiden Helen, please watch yourself. Does Brother Lianqing really have to be so distant to me? Helian Yu bit her handkerchief and looked at Feng Lianqing with sad eyes. Feng Lianqing was sweating. Master was right. If I don't like her, I must stay away from her and not give Helian Yu any hope. Maiden Helian, as a girl you cannot go overboard like this. Otherwise you will embarrass the Helian family. Feng Lianqing felt that his words were already clear enough, and this time Helian Yu should understand. But who knew Helian Yu still walked to his side shamelessly, her eyebrows curving and smiling. It's all right. My grandfather loves me, so he won't blame me. Feng Lianqing was stunned. So that's why you beat up all the girls in this town? Including your own cousin? Me for extra chapters. However, no matter how vicious Helian Yu was in the world's eyes, his master would still like her, and even he did not understand why. I know. Helian Yu's eyes sank, no longer as playful and cute as when she faced Feng Lianqing before. It must be that bitch Helian Ying. I saw her trying to hit on you a few days ago. Do you like Helian Ying and that's why you rejected me? Feng Lianqing frowned. Maiden Helian, you don't need to blame anyone else. I just have no intention of being in a relationship, whether it's you or Helian Ying, it's no difference to me. Only after hearing this did Helian Yu smile widely. I knew Brother Lianqing wouldn't like that bitch. He's so bad. Feng Lianqing was speechless. You're the one who's actually bad, aren't you? Of course he would not dare to say that. Although he did not have any fondness for Helian Yu, he also did not hate her. He simply had no feelings for her. Helian Yu snorted lightly. Brother Lianqing, you are not allowed to let Helian Ying or any other woman come close to you. Otherwise I will tell my grandfather. Feng Lianqing was speechless again. No wonder so many people in the city did not like her. This little girl was really a bit too spoiled. Fortunately he did not have a girl he liked right now. Otherwise, with Helian Yu's temperament, she would never let that girl go. Maiden Helen, I have other things to do. If you have nothing else, I'll leave first. Feng Lianqing did not even wait for Helian Yu to reply and hurriedly left. Helian Yu looked at Feng Lianqing's departing figure and shyly said, Brother Lianqing must have been shy. That's why he leaves so quickly. Chapter 1435. Feng Lianqing to the servant who was following Helian Yu was speechless. Young lady, where did you get the idea that Master Lianqing is shy? He's obviously avoiding you. But the servant did not dare to say it out loud. Xiao, let's go. I haven't visited Grandfather Tianya for a long time. I brought him a jar of good wine this time. Grandfather Tianya will definitely like it. Helian Yu turned around with a smile. As long as she saw Feng Lianqing, she would be happy all day. More importantly, she could come and go in and out of Feng Manor as she pleased, but not Helian Ying. Helian Ying could not even see Brother Lianqing if she wanted to. It was already dusk. Helian Yu walked out of Feng Manor. She had just stepped out of the door when she heard a cold voice. Recently, I heard that Master Lianqing has been looking for a spirit herb called flame fruit. He went to many herb stores but was still unable to buy it. I know where flame fruit is. I saw it not long ago when I went to Wood Spirit Mountain. It's at the top of the mountain, but I don't need it. Why don't let eldest young lady Helian know about this? After all, she is in a relationship with our young master. Indeed. I also saw eldest young lady Helian and young master hugging each other last time. He will definitely be the young lad's future husband. There were two young ladies in the Helian family. One of them was second young lady Helian Yu, and the other was eldest young lady Helian Ying. Helian Yu's parents were both from the imperial family, so the master of the Helian family must have favored her a bit more than eldest young lady Helian Ying. That was why Helian Yu's face changed dramatically after hearing the two guards' discussion. That little slut Helian Ying has really hooked up with Brother Lianqing. Those two guards had probably just spotted Helian Yu. Their faces turned pale as they noticed her eyes darkened. Helian, second young lady? Helian Yu's face was cold as she walked toward the two guards arrogantly. She then fiercely raised her chin and said, No one is allowed to tell Helian Ying about what you have just said. The two guards shivered and lowered their heads. Yes, young lady. Good. Helian Yu's facial expression returned to neutral as she walked away from the guards. Me for extra chapters. Young lady. Xiao followed behind Helian Yu. Wood Spirit Mountain is very dangerous. Would better not go there. If master finds out. No. Helian Yu said angrily. If I don't go, Helian Ying will definitely go as well. I know she also likes brother Lianqing. I can't let her steal my chance. But young lady, I don't care. I'm willing to take even the greatest risk for brother Lianqing. The servant was startled. She sighed heavily as she looked at her young lattice determined steps. Love really can drive someone to do irrational things. In the desert, a red figure stood in the middle of the desert, seemingly domineering. The man next to her was dressed in white, handsome and stunning. Like a pair of immortal couples, these two people walked together like a picture of a couple walking together, so harmonious. Nanxian, where is the place that Suyi was talking about? This time Feng Ruqing did not bring anyone else with her. Chapter 1436. Feng Lianqing 3. Besides Fu Qin and Qing Han, she had only brought a mute girl with her. And she had not even told Feng Tianyu where she was going. After all, from the rumors in the mainland, that place was very dangerous, so she did not dare bring her family with her, not until she found Feng Wuhui and brought him back. We are almost there. Nanxian looked at Feng Ruqing gently. Qinga, when we arrive in land of no return, don't ever leave my side. All right. Feng Ruqing responded to him with a faint smile. Their gazes fell on the yellow sand. The scenery was so beautiful that one could never bear to spoil it. Across this desert was an icy land, the extreme opposite of the yellow sand just now. The temperature of the snowy ground was extremely low, making it difficult for even cultivators to enter. It was said that only holy warriors could withstand such coldness. However, Feng Ruqing looked back at Xiaoya and found that she did not look any different. A hint of suspicion suddenly flashed in her eyes, and then quickly faded. No matter what, Xiaoya was following her with all her heart, and that was enough. Feng Ruqing would not dig out her past. Everyone had their own secrets, and she had already known what she wanted to know anyway, so she did not need to ask anything else. As long as Xiaoya did not betray her, that was all that matters. Qinga, mother said after walking through here you will reach a bridge, and if you jump from the bridge you'll arrive in land of no return. You must grab my hand then and don't let go. Only then we will not be separated. All right. Feng Ruqing held Nanxian's hand tightly. Her face was filled with determination, and even her steps were slightly firm. As expected, she soon saw the bridge. Under the bridge was a bottomless chasm. If she did not trust Suyi, she would never have come to this place, not even have the courage to jump off the bridge. Xiaoya, Feng Ruqing gripped Xiaoya's arm tightly. Don't leave my side. Xiaoya nodded. The three of them were already standing on the bridge. Feng Ruqing slowly closed her eyes, her fingers caressing her abdomen, and only after a moment did she open her eyes. She and Nanxian looked at each other and jumped off the bridge together without turning back. Darkness, me for extra chapters. There was nothing but darkness. It was no wonder no one had found the other path to land of no return. It was because no one would ever try to jump off this bridge. Feng Ruqing could not see where Nanxian was at all, but the warmth she felt in her hand assured her that the man would always be by her side. She did not even know how long she had been in free fall after the jump. She only knew that her body would drop with each passing minute. With Spirit Mountain. On top of the mountain, a demonic flower stood out, swaying in the breeze. Young lady, Xiao Xiao held an incense stick in her hand and she was about to cry. The incense stick is running out. What should we do? If those spirit beasts find out, we will definitely die. Helian Yu had only brought her servant with her without any guards, as she did not want the manor master to stop her from coming to Wood Spirit Mountain. Initially, they had brought enough beast-repelling incense so that lower-ranked beasts would not notice them. Unfortunately, they had somehow lost a few incense sticks halfway up the mountain. The beast-repelling incense that they had right now was enough to hike up the mountain, but it was no longer enough to help them leave this place. Hold on. I almost got flame fruit. Helian Yu hooked one hand to the stone, and with the other hand she tried to grab the red-colored fruit. She was cautious in her movements, afraid that she would accidentally fall off the cliff. Chapter 1437. Falling from the sky. Fortunately, Helian Yu got hold of the fruit, and she was so happy that she hurriedly plucked it off its branch and steadied her footing. But the moment she stood firm on her feet, a furious roar suddenly came, causing her to be slightly startled, and she subconsciously looked sideways. Not far away, a fire lion was rushing toward them angrily. Its eyes were red and bloodshot, cruel and vicious. Helian Yu's small face was white with fear. She was panicked and quickly took a few steps back, but behind her was a 10,000 feet drop over the cliff. She could not retreat anymore. Young lady, Xiao Xiao trembled hard. She was panicking so much and was on the verge of tears. The fire lion's gaze was fixed upon flame fruit in Helian Yu's hand. Its ferocious teeth carried a cold aura, and in the blink of an eye, it was already in front of Helian Yu. It opened its bloody mouth wide. Its saliva flowed downward, carrying an unpleasant smell. Helian Yu's legs trembled non-stop. It was as if her legs had taken root on the ground, unable to move, and she could only watch as the fire lion pounced in front of her. Right at this moment, a light flashed in the sky, lighting up the space above her head. Helian Yu gradually raised her head and looked around. Suddenly, a figure fell from the sky and smashed the fire lion's head. Puff! The fire lion spurted out a mouthful of blood. Its eyes rolled up and it gradually lost its consciousness. Above the fire lion's head was a girl dressed in a red robe stained with blood. Her brain buzzed a bit as her fingers gently rubbed her temples, trying to clear her head. State Preceptor? Xiaoye? Feng Ruqing slowly regained her senses. When she was about to land on the ground just now, there was a force that suddenly came, and to avoid it she and the State Preceptor were forced to let go of their hands. She did not know where Xiaoye had gone. As Feng Ruqing raised her eyes, she saw a pretty and adorable little face. The young girl's face was pale and her lips slightly trembled, pointing at Feng Ruqing, unable to say a word. Feng Ruqing was slightly startled as she lowered her eyes and saw the fire lion that she had crushed was still unconscious. She looked somewhat uncomfortable. Could it be that, me for extra chapters? This fire lion is the little girl's pet? Did I just sit on someone's pet and killed it? No way. She was not as heavy as Tang Yin, so the fire lion was not dead yet. It was just passed out. Is it yours? Feng Ruqing stood up from the fire lion's head. She was embarrassed, but her face showed nothing. It's okay. It's not dead yet, I can save. Before Feng Ruqing could finish her words, the little girl brought out a long sword from nowhere and pierced the fire lion's head. Feng Ruqing was speechless. This girl is so vicious. The panic faded from the little girl's face after she stabbed the fire lion to death. Xiao Xiao was still trembling as she asked, "Young lady, this is the fire lion. Why would the fire lion, who has been expelled from the Lion Beast clan for killing the people in the city back then, appear in this place? It scared the hell out of me." Helian Yu glanced at Xiao Xiao. "It's just a spirit beast. Look at how scared you are. You'll definitely disgrace me if you go out like this, and Helianing will laugh at us." She had somehow forgotten that she was so scared just now that she could not even walk and was about to pee her pants. Helian Yu lifted her chin slightly as she turned to Feng Ruqing. "My name is Helian Yu." Chapter 1438. Falling from the Sky 2-0. Feng Ruqing responded, uninterested. "She's not as cute as Tang Yin and not as pretty as Yi. Not interested." Feng Ruqing then turned around and left. Helian Yu was anxious. She looked at flame fruit on her hand. She had not only picked flame fruit, but the lotus flower with the roots around it was all pulled out too. Therefore she carefully picked off the fruit and put it into her storage bag. She then quickly went in front of Feng Ruqing and handed the flower to her. "It's for you." Feng Ruqing looked at the flower in the girl's hand silently before she turned to Helian Yu. "I have a husband. I don't like women, so it's useless for you to confess to me. Besides, I like Edelweiss. I don't like these kinds of flowers that are too bright." Helian Yu's face darkened. She gritted her teeth. "My grandfather said that a man should know how to repay a kindness. You have just saved me. I can only give you this flower right now, or do you want my flame fruit?" Helian Yu hurriedly hugged the storage bag in her hand. "No, I want to give this to Brother Lianqing. I can't give it to you." Feng Ruqing's gaze moved toward the storage bag that Helian Yu was holding. She slowly raised her head to look at the little girl's flat chest. What are you doing?" Helian Yu's teeth trembled as she tightly covered her chest. "I'm telling you, there's no way I'm going to give myself to you. I don't like women either." "Oh," Feng Ruqing calmly responded. She did not want to say anything more to Helian Yu, but she did take the flower that Helian Yu handed over. "This is a good item. I don't know if the girl is really stupid, taking away flame fruit and giving the most important thing to me. With this flower she could grow as many flame fruits as she wanted in the future. But still Helian Yu was so generous. Feng Ruching took out a bottle from the medium and threw it to Helian Yu. Take it. Apply it once before you go to bed. Your breast will grow bigger after a month. Me for extra chapters. This was the essential oil that Tang Yin had asked her for a long time, and luckily she had one bottle left to give to this girl. Helian Yu's face was red, but she eventually took it as she thought about her unattractive figure. For Brother Lianqing. She must take it. My grandfather said that we must repay kindness. If this thing you gave me is beneficial. Helian Yu paused for a moment and took out flame fruit again. She carefully scraped the black seeds off and handed it to Feng Ruching. So this is for you. Flame fruit was red, but there was a layer of black seeds covering it. Yes, black seeds. The seeds of other fruits were inside it, but the seeds of flame fruit were outside of it. Feng Ruching looked at the black seeds that Helian Yu handed over. This girl is foolish. If she gave her the fruit's essence, what use was there for the rest of the fruit? However, since Helian Yu wanted to give it to her, she received it without hesitation. After a moment of silence, she took another bottle from the medium and threw it to Helian Yu. This is a reward for you. It will make you taller. Helian Yu was anxious. You can't do this. I don't have anything to give you now. I didn't bring anything with me when I went out, and I have to give this flame fruit to Brother Lianqing. I can't give it to you anymore. Oh, then if you don't want it. Feng Ruching was about to take back the bottle, but who knew that this Helian Yu was so quick to snatch it right away. Chapter 1439. Falling from the sky 3. She quickly kept the bottle inside her bag. She searched around before realizing that she did not have anything else to give Feng Ruching. She looked at the servant beside her. Xiao Xiao was about to cry. Young lady, just because she says it can help you grow your breasts, doesn't mean it really can, right? She says you can grow taller, but can you really grow taller? This woman is lying. You don't need to give me to her in return. Young lady, Xiao Xiao cried. I can help you think of how to deal with Helianing, and I can also help you watch Master Lianqing. I'm really useful to you. Only then did Helian Yu reluctantly turn her gaze from her servant. She bit her lip and said, what about the next time someone offends you, you come and tell me? I will beat that person up for you. I no longer have anything else I can give you. For this kind of strong person who could smash a fire lion with her, but giving her gold and silver was useless. She definitely did not care about it. Feng Ruching cocked her eyebrows. You take care of yourself first. You seem to have offended many people, so I'll leave you alone. Goodbye. After she said this, she turned around and wanted to leave. But who knew, countless forces came out of nowhere and surrounded Helian Yu. Helian Yu, finally we've caught you. Among the crowd was an old man. That old man's white robe was floating in the wind. He looked quite strong with sage-like features. But his eyes were cold and his gaze was filled with murderous intent. You are, Helian Yu was somewhat dazed. You're from the Jia family, right? Ah yes. I am indeed from the Jia family. Your family has bullied many people. You guys have chased after Jia Xian for so many years. Jia Xian is still a disciple of our Jia family after all. And you should not bully our young lady. That's right. Helian Yu, you're so arrogant. Sooner or later the gods will punish you for us. The one who said this was a young man whose eyes were filled with anger and hatred as he stared fiercely at Helian Yu. Helian Yu took a few steps back. Feng Hui, are you coming for me as well? Aren't you afraid that my grandfather will go and settle the score with the Feng family? Me for extra chapters. Heh. Helian Yu, you bullied my sister. Did you think I would let you off that easily? Before this, you were always hiding in Wushang City. Of course we did not dare to do anything to you. Now that you've left on your own and after I got the news, I definitely won't let you go back alive. Helian Yu, you're so evil. Everyone wants to kill you. Today none of us will let you go. Xiao Xiao was scared to death. She had already warned her young lady that she should not leave Wushang City. Her young lady was too domineering before and countless people wanted to revenge her. Initially they thought they could hide from these people, but they still found them in the end. It's over. Young lady, you better run first. I will settle this. Xiao Xiao was trembling with fear and she was on the verge of crying. Helian Yu was also panicking. How can I run? They're blocking the road and there's nothing I can do about it. Didn't the book say there would be other life opportunities after jumping off the cliff? A lot of people get stronger that way. And maybe a skilled master is waiting for us just below the cliff. How about we try our luck, young lady? At this moment Helian Yu could not wait to strangle her servant to death. She really wants me to jump off the cliff. Did she know that if they were not lucky enough they might end up dead? Chapter 1440. Do you know Jia Xin? Helian Yu. Feng Hui took a few steps closer to Helian Yu and smiled coldly. You are here now. You can't escape even if you have wings. And no one will find out if you do die in this place. The people of the Jia family also approached Helian Yu along with Feng Hui. And behind Helian Yu was a 10,000 feet cliff. The little girl's little face turned pale as she clenched her teeth and asked, How did you know that I'm here? It must be Helian Ying who told you, right? Feng Hui laughed. You don't have to care about how I knew this. You just need to know that you will die today. Feng Hui rushed forward as soon as he finished his words. His eyes were so fierce and the long sword in his hand carried a cold light. Helian Yu was so scared as she trembled harder. She could not even move her legs and could only watch the long sword heading toward her. Despair filled her heart. Suddenly, vines came out from the ground and wrapped around Feng Hui's hand. He tried to free his hand a few times with great force but was unable to break it. His whole body was firmly fixed to the spot, unable to move. Feng Hui's eyes were filled with rage and he was about to growl, but then a figure suddenly arrived and kicked his chest. Feng Hui's body flew away before falling to the ground helplessly. His bones cracked and his face turned pale with pain. But without waiting for Feng Hui to stand up at all, the vines emerged from the ground again and wrapped around his feet, hanging him in the air. Helian Yu was stunned. She turned her head and saw a red figure flying to her side. The young girl's fine hair blew in the wind, stunningly beautiful. She held a long sword in her hand and her eyes were cold. Haven't you already left? Helian Yu was dumbfounded. She did not understand why Feng Ruqing was still around. Feng Ruqing obviously did not pay much attention to her. She stared at Feng Hui calmly. Do you know Jia Xin? Me for extra chapters. Feng Hui's face was red. But before he could say another word, he had been thrown down hard from high in the sky. He felt dizzy from the fall, and he could not seem to spit out another mouthful of blood as it was stuck in his throat. Do you know Jia Xin? Feng Ruqing asked again expressionlessly. Feng Hui quickly lifted his head and was met with the girl's cold eyes. Her eyes were so cold that he trembled harder. Before he could utter a word of denial, the vines came out of the ground again, lifting him into the air and slamming him down onto the ground again. This time Feng Hui was slammed down hard. He spurted out a mouthful of blood, almost fainting. Helian Yu was dumbfounded. She looked at the miserable Feng Hui before turning to Feng Ruqing and said weakly, Actually, he's not from the Jia family. He's from the Feng family and the Jia family is the other one. Feng Ruqing was speechless. I have hit the wrong person. Oh, I'm sorry. I've gotten the wrong person. Feng Ruqing raised her eyes and followed the direction Helian Yu pointed to, seeing the old man in the crowd. So, you know Jia Xin? The old man was cold and arrogant. Yes, I know Jia Xin. He is a disciple of my Jia family. Girl, I advise you, bang. Before he could speak any further, a fist met his face, interrupting him. Feng Ruqing retracted her fist. Her face remained cold. This time I didn't hit the wrong person. Chapter 1441. Baby brain eye things after beating somebody up. This old man was not considered a powerful man in the Jia family, but he was still a Jia family member after all. So how could he allow someone to treat him like this? He wiped the blood from his nose and looked at Feng Ruqing angrily. Who are you? I'm Jia Xin's father. The young girl moved as fast as the wind, and in a split second she was already in front of that old man of Jia family. Vines appeared from the ground, entangling the disciples of the Jia family. They could not make any move and only watched as the young girl's fist smashed the old man's face. Feng Hui was stunned. This woman looks beautiful and has a big belly, but how could she be so fierce? Are you not afraid if something bad happens to your baby? He gulped and said fiercely, All of you go get her. Feng Ruqing glanced coldly. Those guards trembled, yet they still rushed toward Feng Ruqing. However, before those people could get close to Feng Ruqing, a violent gust of wind suddenly blew, sending them flying away and landing on the ground helplessly. Feng Hui was stunned. He looked up and saw a handsome and stunning face. The man's robe was as white as snow, misty like an immortal. His stunning face could make thousands of girls in this world fall in love with him. The man stood next to Feng Ruching. His robe fluttered in the wind and his eyes were as cold as the moon. He looked calm as he gradually turned to those who had rushed toward him again. Boom. Hover. His energy was like a powerful wave, and before those people could even touch his robes, this power lifted them off the ground. The rest of the people were like ants under this power. State Preceptor. Feng Ruching looked at Nan Xian happily. You're not missing. Well, Nan Xian's face softened a bit. I was slightly distant from you when I first fell, but fortunately not too far away. I noticed strange energy here and so I came looking for you. Me for extra chapters. Where's Xiaoya? I didn't know, but she must be around here. They had landed in different places but not too far apart. Otherwise, Nan Xian would not have been able to find her so quickly. Feng Ruching raised her eyebrows and looked at the old man of the Jia family lividly. I thought that all the Jia family members were strong. But I didn't expect that you're even worse than Jia Exen. The old man's face darkened. Indeed, he was not the most powerful in the Jia family. But he was still the head family's uncle after all. So what if he was not strong enough? It was still more than enough to deal with Helian Yu. Unfortunately, he did not expect to meet this woman here, and she had even dared to compare him to Jia Exen. Ridiculous. No matter how powerful Jia Exen was, he was only a second cousin to the family's head. How could the Jia family head compare Jia Exen to his own uncle, who was obviously related to him? Don't compare me to that idiot Jia Exen. That idiot who even bullied a cat doesn't deserve to be a Jia family member. If not because of his strength, that kind of bastard would have been kicked out from the Jia family. Feng Ruching frowned. So he hasn't been kicked out of the Jia family yet? He's still one of the Jia family members? The old man of the Jia family was also foolish. After hearing Feng Ruching's words, he even replied honestly, "That's right." Oh, Feng Ruching nodded calmly. I knew it. Chapter 1442. Baby Brain 2. The old man of the Jia family was stunned. You knew it? What do you mean? That old man would understand what she meant. The young girl flashed like the wind and slapped the old man across both of his cheeks. Those guards had freed themselves from the vines and were planning to do something. But who knew that a powerful momentum suddenly pressed down on them, so much so that they could not even move? It was all that old man's fault. He did not dare to bring out too many people. If he had brought too many powerful men, the old master of the Jia family would definitely have noticed it. Therefore he only dared to get some ordinary guards to chase after Helian Yu. And the same went for Feng Hui. Initially they thought that it would be easy to deal with Helian Yu alone. Perhaps they would not even have to finish her off themselves. No one had expected Feng Ruching to be here. Feng Ruching kicked him away with a thud. She rolled up her sleeves and looked at the old man with a cold, expressionless gaze. Go back and tell Jia Exen that I've come to look for him. You, the old man of the Jia family stood up, panicked. His face was swollen like a pig's head with a blood trail hanging from the corner of his mouth. Who are you? Once he found out the identity of this bitch, he would never let her go. You only need to tell Jia Exen that. There's no need for you to know who I am if you really want to know a name. Feng Ruching sneered as she raised her hand and pulled Helian Yu closer to her. What's your name? She asked Helian Yu. Helian Yu looked pissed. She had told her just now. Helian Yu. Oh, Feng Ruching smiled calmly. Just say that Helian Yu is one of mine. You can deal with her later. Don't come to me. When the time comes, I will go to Jia Exen by myself to settle the score. Jia Exen. The moment she returned to Tianshan Manor, Jia Exen had already been dragged away by Big Black. But that did not mean that she did not know the culprit who had almost harmed the people of Tianshan Manor. Besides, she was not dumb to simply give her name. Who knew how many skilled masters like Jia Exen were in this Jia family? What if they come after her and the state preceptor? Me for extra chapters. For this kind of thing, it would be better for them to go to Helian Yu. Helian Yu was speechless. Her face darkened. Fortunately, Feng Ruching had saved her, so she would take the blame for her. Helian Yu swore as she patted her chest. Yes. If you're looking to settle the score, you can come to the Helian family and find me. I want to see if your Jia family has the guts to do so, and I will definitely tell my grandfather about this. So, you wait for my grandfather to come to you. The old man's face changed dramatically. He could no longer say any arrogant words. He was just like a suffocated balloon. If any of the Hellion family know about this, tragic. The entire Jia family would never live in peace again. Hellion Yu lifted her chin and said, "Get the hell out of here. Don't block my way. You're so ugly. Only a good-looking man like Brother Lianqing has the right to appear in front of me." Perhaps sensing that he was not a match for Feng Ruqing and Nan Xian, the old man from the Jia family did not say anything more. He looked at Feng Ruqing resentfully before he turned around and walked out of the mountain. Feng Hui gritted his teeth and eventually left as well, but his eyes were so vicious, like a knife that had been covered with poison. Looking at their departing figures, Nan Xian pondered for a moment before finally saying, "Qing'a, actually we don't have to let them leave. If they are buried here no one will notice." Chapter 1443. Baby Brain 3. Feng Ruqing was startled. She rubbed her head. "It seems so. Then is it too late for us to go after them now?" Nan Xian was dumbstruck. It's like she had a baby brain. Sometimes she was extremely sharp and intelligent and sometimes she made silly mistakes. Hellion Yu turned to Feng Ruqing. "My Hellion family will not consider the Jia family of any significance. There is no need for you to show mercy to them for fear of dragging me down. Even if I did kill the old man of the Jia family, they wouldn't dare to do anything to me. Someone will always defend me." Feng Ruqing was speechless. She was silent for a few moments, speaking frankly, "I didn't do it for you. I got it. You don't need to explain." Hellion Yu waved her hand with a lofty gesture. "I thought you really left me behind and ran away before, but I didn't think you were righteous enough to know that those people came prepared to kill me. If they died, the Jia family would definitely suspect that I have done it. That was why you have let these dogs go." "I really didn't do it for you." Hellion Yu grasped Feng Ruqing's hand. "Shaoqing, I understand. I understand everything. You said like this because you're afraid that I'll feel guilty. Don't worry. My grandfather is powerful. I won't let the Jia family cause any more trouble for you. When I go back, I'll ask my grandfather to find them to settle the score." Feng Ruqing could feel Nan Xian's jealous gaze all over her. Her body stiffened, unable to move. Nan Xian pulled Feng Ruqing into his arms, forcing their hands apart. His tone was somewhat cold as he said, "Qing'a, is it true? I thought it's common for a pregnant woman to do something silly during her pregnancy, as what people have always said. But it turns out that you have done all this for her?" "I did not. I did not. No way. I'm innocent, really." Seeing that Hellion Yu was about to continue speaking, Feng Ruqing glared at her sharply, scaring her so much that she quickly shut her mouth. Her eyes were blank. "Have I said something wrong? Young lady, stop talking." Xiao Xiao immediately tugged at Hellion Yu's sleeve, afraid that she would repeat something dumb. Could she not see that man was about to cut her to pieces by 1,000 cuts? How dare she talk nonsense? "Qing'a, let's go." Nan Xian looked at Hellion Yu coldly. He then turned his gaze once again to Feng Ruqing, and his cold eyes were gradually softening. "Me for extra chapters." He could not allow her to develop any relationship with that woman. He did not want another Tang Yin or Gui. He felt like he wanted to kill all cute girls in this world. Hellion Yu was totally baffled. She did not understand when she had provoked this man. She would also never understand that a jealous man was scarier than anyone else. "Xiao Xiao," Hellion Yu held her chin in deep thought. "What's wrong with this man?" Xiao Xiao remained silent. "I didn't mess with him, but I saw the look in his eyes. It was like trying to hit me. He looked like a demon slut, prettier than a woman. He's not even human. Brother Lianqing is much better than him. At least if she stood next to Brother Lianqing, she would still have some dignity. But if it was this man in front of her, oh, any girl would look bad next to him. Perhaps only a girl like Shaoqing can be his match, right? Oh, I haven't asked for Shaoqing's real name yet." Hellion Yu suddenly thought of something and rushed toward Feng Ruqing. She only knew that the guy called her Shaoqing, but she did not know her full name. She did not know her name. How could she repay her for saving her life in the future? Chapter 1444. The two sisters from the Hellion family. Unfortunately, Hellion Yu had lost her. She lowered her head in frustration. Xiao Xiao stood next to her and said, Young lady, should we go back and meet the Jia family first? I remember that Jia Xian seems to be still locked up in the dungeon by Master Lianqing. Seeing that Helian Yu did not say anything, Xiao Xiao added, moreover, if we don't go back in time, maybe those people from the Jia family might still send someone to look for that girl. Besides, young lady must quickly give flame fruit to Master Lianqing. After hearing this, Helian Yu immediately became excited as she waved her hand. Let's go back. Quick. Wushang City. It was the main city of Tianling Kingdom. All the great families had close relations and were connected. As the city's protector general Tianya had huge military power, even the Tianling Kingdom emperor feared him. Therefore General Tianya held supreme power in this kingdom. And as the general's right-hand man, Helian Su naturally also held a pivotal position. Moreover, General Tianya favored Helian Yu so much so that the Helian family's reputation was flourishing, and no one dared to provoke them. At this moment in the Helian family, Helian Su was filled with anxiety. He looked anxious and he was somewhat restless. How's it going? Seeing someone walking in at the door, Helian Su hurriedly got up and asked, Is there any news about Yuer? The visitor stroked his sleeve, half kneeling on the ground, and respectfully reported, Master, my man has just received the news that second young lady left Wushang City and went to Wood Spirit Mountain. She only brought a servant with her. The old man's expression changed. He seemed panicked. She only brought a servant to Wood Spirit Mountain with her? Send everyone in the Helian family to Wood Spirit Mountain to bring this little girl back. Immediately. Yes. The guard responded respectfully and retreated. Me for extra chapters. When the guard had left, a young girl who was waiting quietly at the side came out from her hiding place. Her face was also filled with worry, but her tone was reproachful. Grandfather, second sister is really a bit ignorant this time. How can she go to a place like Wood Spirit Mountain on her own? This is all due to my poor discipline as a big sister. Grandfather, it's all my fault. As she said this, she had already walked up to Helian Zu's side. Her eyes were filled with sorrow, half kneeling on the ground. Seeing Helian Ing in such a state, how could the old man still blame her? He sighed lightly and shook his head. It's not your fault. Where is indeed too reckless. You should get up first. This time when she comes back, I'll definitely discipline her. This time he had made up his mind to be ruthless. Even his gaze was determined. No matter how much trouble Yuer causes in Wushang City, I will always protect her. She's my most beloved granddaughter. She has lost her father and mother. If I don't help her, who will? However, does this girl not know how dangerous Wood Spirit Mountain is? Even if she brings the beast-repelling incense, she might not be able to drive away all the spirit beasts there. He could not continue to indulge her any longer. There was no guarantee that she would not be in danger because of his indulgence. Helian Ing lowered her eyes to cover the emotion in them. She and Helian Yu were both his granddaughters. But Helian Yu would always be pampered no matter how mischievous she was. Everyone in the Helian family spoiled her. Chapter 1445. The two sisters from the Helian family too, but she, no matter how well-behaved and sensible she was, not many people would pay attention to her. She was unhappy. Not happy about this at all. Obviously, Helian Yu was just a villain that everyone would love to kill. She was no longer capable of anything other than going around causing trouble. So why did the Helian family pamper her so much? Just when Helian Su was in a hurry and a little angry, a guard hurriedly ran in. His face was filled with joy. Master, young lady is back. Second young lady is back. What? This time Helian Su did not wait for anyone else to say more. He had already rushed out. Initially he really wanted to scold her, but after seeing that tragic little figure, all the anger he had earlier dissipated, and the only thing that remained was a pity. Grandfather, Helian Yu's small face was dirty, and her entire body was in a mess. Even the servant beside her looked miserable. But the servant was looking at Helian Yu with eyes filled with sorrow. She did not understand why her young lady had to make herself so miserable before returning. It was spoiling her image. At the same time, Helian Ing followed behind her grandfather. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw Helian Yu's miserable appearance. Initially she thought that her grandfather would definitely teach Helian Yu a lesson this time, but who knew that this Helian Yu had touched their grandfather's heart? She had made such a mess of herself that her grandfather would never be able to bring himself to scold her. As expected, Helian Su trembled and stretched his hand out, caressing Helian Yu's miserable little face. You have just gone out for a trip. How did you become such a miserable mess? Who did this to you? Me for extra chapters. Helian Yu's tears were streaming down her face. Grandfather Xiao Xiao and I were on our way to Wood Spirit Mountain to look for flame fruit. But halfway through our journey, someone stole half of our beast-repelling incense and the Jia family and the Fong family have even chased after us and wanted to kill me. If I hadn't met that beautiful girl, I'm afraid that I would have already died and won't be able to come back. Boom. A surge of anger rushed straight to his head. Helian Zu's eyes turned red and he was like an angry lion. The Jia family. The Fong family. How dare these people touch my granddaughter? Guards, prepare the troops and horses immediately. I will personally go there to seek justice for my granddaughter. Just now he had verbally said that he was going to teach her a lesson, but in the blink of an eye, it turned out that he was teaching others a lesson. Helian Yu lowered her small head, a silent smile curving the corners of her mouth. In this way the Jia family's people will no longer be able to look for trouble with Shaoqing, right? No one can save them. Grandfather, Helian Ying's heart sank but her face remained calm, smiling gently. The Jia family and the Fong family would definitely not dare to touch my sister. Maybe there's some misunderstanding? The anger on Helian Zu's old face suddenly disappeared. Helian Ying continued, moreover, it is normal for the Jia family to be jealous of my sister. The eldest young lady of the Jia family was only joking about how she would marry Master Lianqing, but my sister still beat her up. The young lady of the Fong family is even more innocent. Master Lianqing only helped her when she accidentally fell, and my sister had also beat that girl in public. These are all my sister's fault. Grandfather, we can't be so unreasonable. Otherwise, what will the world say about our Helian family? Chapter 1446. The two sisters from the Helian family. 3. The words she had said were spoken righteously as she looked at Helian Yu accusingly. Now, since younger sister is unharmed, why don't we just let it slide? In the future, if the Jia family comes and finds trouble with younger sister, it won't be too late for us to take action then. Helian Yu harumphed. That despicable person from the Jia family did not just say that she wanted to marry elder brother Lianqing. She had even said I'm small, that my chest isn't as big as hers and that I'm not fit to marry elder brother Lianqing. The despicable person from the Fong family was even worse. She had purposely fallen into elder brother Lianqing's arms. I didn't punish them wrongly. She hugged Helian Zu's arm while crying as her dirty little face seemed extremely pitiful. Grandfather, if it wasn't because somebody had saved me this time around, I wouldn't have been able to ever return again. Seeing Helian Ying was still going to speak, Helian Su calmly glanced past her. Yinger is your younger sister. Speaking on other people's behalf, where does it leave your sister? Helian Ying felt her heart jolt as she bit on her pale lip. Grandfather, I did not mean that. I just wanted to think about the Helian family clan's reputation. Reputation? Helian Su sneered. My Helian family's reputation was built by slowly fighting for it. I don't need the younger generations to help me fight to obtain this bit of reputation. Guards, fire this fellow immediately. I want to find the Jia family's little ones to settle the score. Since they have dared to attack my granddaughter, they must pay the price. Helian Ying saw Helian Zu's angry expression, and she clenched her fists tightly. Her heart was throbbing in pain. However, she also understood that no matter what she said, her grandfather would not listen to a single sentence. Therefore she looked at Helian Yu and then turned around to leave. This glance was so cold it was as if countless daggers were slashing across Helian Yu's small face, making her expression darken slightly. In the backyard. In a room in the eastern wing, Helian Ying had just walked into the room and locked the door. With a swish, she swept all the porcelain wares on the table onto the ground. Her face was no longer meek and gentle like before. Her gaze was malevolent. Based on what? Just based on what it was that grandfather pampered Helian Yu every time. This fatherless, motherless, uneducated, despicable person. Me for extra chapters. She sat down angrily and poured herself a cup of water. When she had just drunk a mouthful, her room's door was pushed open. She stood up in a flurry and the cup in her hand also fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Her face paled even more, especially when she saw who the person at the door was. Father. Outside the door, a middle-aged man dressed in a brocade slowly entered. He saw the mess on the ground and frowned slightly. Yinger, what are you doing? Helian Ying's face paled as her voice trembled. Yinger, I know that you are very dissatisfied with Yue, but she is still your younger sister. Don't think that I don't know that it was you who had gotten someone to release the news to her and lured her into Wood Spirit Mountain. The middle-aged man's tone was sharp and even the way he looked at Helian Ying seemed accusatory. Helian Ying's heart almost stopped beating and she even found it difficult to breathe. Father, I didn't. After Yue left, I went to inquire about her and found the two people. They personally told me that it was you who has instructed your personal maid to seek them out. The middle-aged man slowly approached Helian Ying and each step he took forward seemed very heavy. Yinger, in the past you were obviously not like this. Why have you become so malicious now? Helian Ying clenched her fists tightly. At this moment she actually felt like her body had lost all its strength. The corners of her lips subconsciously curled up into a bitter smile. Chapter 1447. Is Helian Yu your daughter? Why is it that each and every one of you only pampers Helian Yu? Grandfather is the same, General Tianya is the same, and even you, my biological father, is doing the same. Even Feng Lianqing. He is extremely cold toward everyone. However, he is still able to exchange a few sentences with Helian Yu alone. It was clear that I am more outstanding and more mature. Why is it that everyone only has Helian Yu in their hearts? Father, do you really not understand why, or are you pretending not to understand why I have become like this? Helian Ying sneered. The corner of her lips curled up into a sarcastic sneer as she slowly approached Helian Yufei. Exactly who is your biological daughter? It's fine that grandfather seems to favor her more. After all, she is an orphan who is fatherless and motherless. You are my biological father, why do you need to favor that orphan girl? Slap. She had just finished speaking when a slap graced her cheek. Helian Ying's hair came undone messily and a trace of blood flowed from the corner of her lips. She wiped the trace of blood from the corner of her lips and raised her head to look at the man who had exploded in anger. The sneer in her heart grew even wider. See, this was her biological father. Helping an orphan girl to mistreat his own biological daughter like this. She is not an orphan girl. She is my brother's and your uncle's daughter. This Helian family is her family. She still has her grandfather and her eldest uncle, who said she is an orphan. Helian Feiyu was so angry that his whole body was trembling. His gaze was filled with pain. Perhaps he could not understand why had his own daughter become like this. Or was this her true colors? I just want to know, am I your biological daughter or not? Helian Ying raised her head and looked directly at Helian Yufei. Helian Yufei closed his eyes in deep pain. He slowly opened them again. Yinger, if you are not my daughter when you harm Yue like this, do you think I would still help you to hide it? Till now the old master does not know of this matter. The two people who disguised as guards of the general's manor have also been disposed of by me. As for your personal maid, you should deal with it as you see fit. However, I hope that there won't be a next time for this matter. He paused and lowered his gaze. Also, the people of the Jia family and the Fong family. Was it you who notified them? Me for extra chapters. Helian Ying bit her lower lip hard, not making a sound. Helian Yufei shook his head in disappointment. Even if you don't say it, I can still guess it. If the next time Yue is in any danger, I will tell the old master about this matter. Yinger, not to mention the old master, with the way General Tianya looks out for Yue, do you think that he would just let things be? Helian Ying's body was trembling. She did not understand why Tianya treated Helian Yu as someone so important. She was just a woman who knew how to cause unnecessary troubles. Why are all of you treating me like this just because of Helian Yu? Helian Ying's eyes were full of pain. She raised her gaze and stared at Helian Yufei. Her voice was a little hoarse. I want to know why. Helian Yufei gave a bitter laugh. Perhaps this was what he owed his second younger brother and his sister-in-law. Yinger, I do not hope that there will be a next time for these kinds of matters. I can protect you once, but there will not be a second time. Helian Yufei did not say anything more, and having said that, he turned around and left the room. Hellion Ing ruthlessly kicked the table and chairs. Her face was so gloomy and dark like deep waters as she ruthlessly gritted her teeth. Hellion Yu, I will not let you snatch away everything that is mine. I will get everything that belongs to me back. Chapter 1448. Is Hellion Yu your daughter? 2 in the main courtyard. Hellion Yufei had just stepped into the courtyard when he met his wife who was rushing out. This wife of his was graceful and elegant, and her looks were exquisite. She wore a golden hairpin on her head, and when she walked, the wind seemed to follow. Until she saw Hellion Yufei, she paused for a moment and stopped. Husband, did you go and see Yinger just now? Yes, Hellion Yufei replied indifferently. She was indeed a little unruly this time. If I didn't warn her, I don't know what kind of problems she would hatch. Now the old master and General Tianya have not realized her actions. However, if they were to find out, do you think there would still be a peaceful day in this Hellion family? Lady Helion's expression shifted as she clenched her fists. Even her breathing seemed to be heavy. Are you really doing this for Yinger's safety, or is it for Tian? Tian, the wife of the second young master of the Hellion family, Hellion Yu's biological mother. That accident back then had left the husband and wife both dead, leaving behind their only daughter Hellion Yu. It was also because of the lack of discipline, and the fact that the old master pampered her and was always giving in to her, that had caused her to be extremely arrogant and domineering. Hellion Yufei heard this name that had not been mentioned for a long time, and his handsome face instantly darkened. Even the gaze he used to look at Lady Hellion was cold. Yu Qin's sister-in-law has already passed away. Is there any meaning to bringing up her name? Yu Qin sneered. Back then you liked Tian. In the end, the one she liked was your younger brother. In order to let her marry your younger brother peacefully, you listened to the old lattice words and married me. Later on, when the old lady passed away, your love toward Tian reignited, right? Did you really go and warn Yinger because of her safety, or was it for Tian? Yu Qing's face was cold. Because of that despicable person's daughter, you have treated your own biological daughter like this. You, shut up, me for extra chapters. Hellion Yufei shouted in anger as he clenched his fists tightly. Even the veins on his forehead were throbbing. If she was not my biological daughter, do you think I would have hidden everything that she has done to Yuer? That's right, I once liked my second sister-in-law, but after she became my sister-in-law, I had already given up on her. Otherwise, do you think I would agree to the marital alliance and married you? Who knows if the two of you were doing things secretly, or even to say Hellion Yu is your dog. Slap. A ruthless slap landed on Yu Qin's face. Her whole face reddened and swelled. Her hair was in a mess that she looked no different from a beggar. Yu Qin, let me warn you. No matter how angry you are at me, you are not allowed to insult my second younger brother and sister-in-law. Their love was stronger than gold. How could another person step into their relationship? Hellion Yufei's eyes were bloodshot. You really don't understand why I care so much about Yuer? Yu Qin's gaze was full of hatred as she looked at Hellion Yufei coldly. I have originally married you and intended to treat you well. But aren't you aware of what you have done back then? Hellion Yufei sneered. Because I once liked my sister-in-law, you tried to get her into trouble at every instance, even suspecting that the child in her womb was mine and wanted to poison her. Did you think that sister-in-law did not know? No, she knew about everything. However, she did not expose you to keep the peace in the family. Later on, she even saved you without regarding the previous grievances she had received. Hellion Yufei closed his eyes in deep pain. After a while, he opened his eyes again and there was a hint of coldness in his eyes. Second brother and sister-in-law died in the hands of our enemies to save you and Yinger. Yu Qin's body trembled slightly. Chapter 1449. Is Hellion Yu your daughter? 3. All the matters that happened back then were like a mirror as they flashed by before her. You're right, she had indeed saved me. However, I was also originally dragged in it by the Hellion family. Those were enemies of the Hellion family. Wasn't it only right that your brother saved me? I was dragged into it by you all. Yu Qin raised her head. Furthermore, this has already passed for so many years and I have been obedient to you all these years, caring for Hellion Yu so well that even Yinger is jealous. Is this not enough? She approached Hellion Yufei step by step, asking, How long exactly are you going to neglect Yinger for her? Your repayment of their grace should already be fully repaid by now, right? It has been so many years and it still isn't enough? We don't owe Hellion Yu anything anymore. It was as if it was the first time Hellion Yufei knew Yuqin as he looked at her like he was looking at a stranger. Back then, the second younger brother and sister-in-law did not mind their previous grievances and had saved her and Yinger. In the end, they themselves never returned. All these years, Yuqin was indeed obedient and had treated Yuer as her own. However, he had never thought that she had long felt that she had repaid their saving grace. Their lives were exchanged with the lives of two others. How could it be possible for such a grace to ever be repaid? They did not just owe them 2 lives, they also owed Yuer her parents. What I owe them is for life. Hellion Yufei's gaze was full of disappointment. Furthermore, I have never neglected Yinger. She is my biological daughter. How could I not love her? It was just that, he had to cut his love into 2 portions, that was all. Everything that Yinger had he would also definitely give Yuer a portion. If the 2 of them fell sick at the same time, he would get Yuqin to accompany Yinger while he accompanied Yuer. Was it really wrong? His biological daughter was exchanged with the lives of his younger brother and sister-in-law. Why could he not give Yuer love, care and concern? Was he not allowed to care about others just because he was Yinger's father? Normally, even if I love Yuer, I have never mistreated Yinger. The 2 of them are the same to me. Hellion Yufei's eyes were filled with pain and regret. This time I did not hold back and have hit Yinger because she has crossed the line. It was really too much. Usually he could not bear to even touch a finger of hers. However, she really should not have harmed Yuer like this. Yuqin was stunned as she suddenly pounced at Hellion Yufei as if she were crazy. Me for extra chapters. Hellion Yufei, you animal. It is fine that you lay your hands on me. Yinger is your daughter, how could you actually hit her? She raised her hand as she ruthlessly rushed toward Hellion Yufei. However, she did not even get to touch Hellion Yufei's face when he grabbed her hand. His actions were fast and strong. He grabbed her wrist so hard that it hurt. Her face was filled with anger as she glared at Hellion Yufei hatefully. That's enough. Hellion Yufei's voice was somber. Even spirit beasts know how to repay favors. Why is it that my wife and daughter are treating the daughter of their saviors like this? Yuqin, in this Hellion family you better be a little wiser. My mother is no longer around, no one will protect you. Back then he was forced by his mother to marry for a marital alliance because Yuqin's mother was his mother's niece. Back then he was originally thinking that whoever he married was the same as long as she knew her place. He would not mind who his wife was. If he had known that Yuqin's character was like this, perhaps he would not have married her back then. But Hellion Yufei gave a strong push and Yuqin was pushed onto the ground. When sister-in-law was around, I had given you too many chances. Now in these past few years I saw that you have been treating Yuer quite well and thought that you have repented. I never thought that you were just holding back. It really is like the saying, a leopard can't change its spots. Chapter 1450. Is Hellion Yu your daughter? For Yuqin was so angry that her whole body was trembling. If it were not because she could not defeat Hellion Yufei, she would have immediately pounced over and torn him into pieces. You have never forgotten Tian Tian, you have never forgotten her. That's why Hellion Yu is definitely your daughter. You have long rekindled your romance. Hellion Yufei was too tired to say anything more. Perhaps it was just toward Yuqin that he did not even want to explain anymore. If Tian Tian had wished to marry other people back then, he would still try and put up a fight, but she was his sister-in-law. No matter what, he would not do such a thing like incest. If you say so, then it is so. It's up to you, whatever you want to believe. After he finished speaking, he did not say anything more as he walked past Yuqin, leaving on his own. Outside the courtyard, Hellion Yu's body went stiff. She looked at Hellion Yufei's leaving back in a daze. A stream of tears flowed from her eyes and wet her entire face. Xiao. Eldest uncle's wife just now said that. I am eldest uncle's daughter? Why, how did she become eldest uncle's daughter? Her father was clearly the second master of the Hellion family. Young lady, Xiao looked at Hellion Yu worriedly and wanted to say a few words of comfort, but found herself unable to do so. Hellion Yu bit down on her lip. Her petite body was trembling and her face was pale. No wonder Hellion Ying did not like her. It turned out that she was actually eldest uncle's daughter. Now it made sense. Hellion Ing disliking her was expected. Just like she had never liked Hellion Ing. Actually, Hellion Yu could not be blamed for misunderstanding the situation. She had arrived too late and had only overheard the last few sentences. She did not even know what was discussed earlier on. The moment Yuqin raised her head, she saw Hellion Yu's pale, small face. Her heart leaped as she immediately put on her guard. Just now those words. How much did the despicable little one hear? Without waiting for Yuqin to think further, Hellion Yu's trembling voice could be heard once more. Eldest aunt, is what you said just now true? That I am eldest uncle's daughter? Me for extra chapters. The originally guarded Yuqin completely let down her guard after she heard this. It seems like this despicable little one still does not know the cause of Tian husband and wife duo's death. Otherwise she definitely would not be speaking in such a tone. Thinking about this, she looked at Hellion Yu coldly. That's right. You are Tian and Hellion Yu Fei's biological daughter. You all have hurt Yinger too deeply. From the beginning he had neglected Yinger for you. And you are still trying to get her in trouble at every instance. Hellion Yu's small face became even paler. She did not even know where to put her hands. There was no longer the arrogance and dominance of the past in her, but instead, there was a feeling of utter disbelief. Hellion Ing has always found me unpleasant to her eyes. Did she already know about this long ago? She bit her lip and continued to ask. Yuqin sneered. Naturally it is so. My family's Yinger is an understanding and obedient child. If it were not the case, do you think she would have hated you? She would never have hated someone without a reason. This is all because you all owe it to her. Hellion Yu's body went limp. It was Hellion Yu who owed her Hellion Ing. It was Hellion Yu who owed them both, Hellion Ing and Yuqin. Yufei does not wish for too many people to know about this. I also hope that you will not simply talk nonsense and make things difficult for Yufei. Yuqin's gaze was menacing. All these years I have been hurt so deeply by your mother and you. I have even let go of all my grievances and treated you as my own. If it were not because Yinger is so unhappy this time around, I would not have done this. Hellion Yu, seeing that I have been quite good to you in the past and that you owe it to us, I hope that you don't look for Yufei anymore and don't say anything more to him. Hellion Yu lowered her gaze as a bitter smile hung on her pale face. Chapter 1451. Xiaoya was taken away. She was actually eldest uncle's daughter. I got it. Eldest aunt, I will not let eldest uncle know. Suddenly, Hellion Yu raised her small head as her gaze was determined, not containing the least bit of hesitation. Yuqin clenched her fists tightly and after a long while she finally released them. She did not even glance at Hellion Yu before she turned around and left. She did not know if doing this was right or wrong. However, if she did not do so, she could not vent the malicious anger within her. Thinking about it, Yuqin slowly let out an evil sigh, her gaze full of menace. Don't blame eldest aunt. If you want to blame it on someone or something, just blame it on the fact that you are Tian's daughter. You are the daughter of the person your eldest uncle once liked. To repay Tian's grace, she had already tolerated her existence for over 10 years. It was already sufficient. She did not wish to continue tolerating that fact and cause her own daughter to suffer endless harm. Hellion Yu quietly looked at Yuqin's departing figure and after a while she turned back around. Her entire body was a little stiff, perhaps somewhat unable to fully regain her senses from all the information she had just received. Young lady, Xiao cried. You are still required to inform eldest master that you know about this matter. After all, enough. Hellion Yu shouted sharply. He is forever my eldest uncle. It will not change anything, nor is it possible to ever change anything. Furthermore, she was not willing to change anything. All these years she had been arrogant in Wushang City. If this matter was made known to others, who knew how they would laugh at her. This was something she did not wish ever to experience. Hellion Yu took a deep breath. Until now she still felt her heart trembling. She bit down hard on her lip and forced herself to regain composure. Xiao, I wish to go and see elder brother Lianqing. Perhaps she would only feel better by seeing Feng Lianqing. It was a pity that this time Hellion Yu had ended up empty-handed. By the time she arrived at the Feng Manor, she had noticed that Feng Lianqing had received a task and left. She could only leave in disappointment. Wushang City. Me for extra chapters. Nearby was a spirit beast mountain range. It was known as Beast Mountain. Previously, Sui had warned Nanxian not to bring Feng Ruching into the spirit beast territory. Furthermore, he could not make any promises to the spirit beasts. However, in the end they still unintentionally dwelled into the deeper parts of the place. Fu Chen, Feng Ruching lowered her gaze and asked. Are you sure Xiaoya is here? In the medium, Fu Chen's voice rang out. I am not very sure either. The moment he finished speaking, Fu Chen could feel Feng Ruching's face darkening. He immediately said, however, her scent has indeed disappeared from this point onward. From what I can tell, she should have been taken away by someone. That person should have some kind of token on him that blocked her breath from spreading. Taken away? Feng Ruching squinted. Who was it that had taken Xiaoya away? Xiaoya seemed to have originated from Land of No Return. Could it be that she was in the hands of someone she once knew in Land of No Return? I need to find Xiaoya not merely for Xiaoyin's sake also. I have this nagging feeling that I seem to know Xiaoya. This kind of familiar feeling that was in her bones could not be wrong. No matter what, she could not let anyone bully her. Nanxian, who was dressed in white, stood calmly by Feng Ruching's side. He calmly and comfortingly said, Qing'e, you don't have to be too worried. She is not as simple as you think she is. There would also be not much danger. Chapter 1452. Feng Lianqing I. Feng Ruching nodded slightly. However, without seeing Xiaoya with her own eyes, her heart seemed to be unable to be at peace. Spiritual qi was dense at one of the peaks that disappeared into the clouds on the mountain range. In a deep pool, a black dragon was circling in the spiritual pool where thick mist gathered. It was obviously very comfortable, and by its side 2 little servants were massaging it. It is still more comfortable in the old home. The spiritual qi is so much thicker than in Songyu mainland. The only pity is that little Nine is missing. Yes, if little Nine was here then it would be even better. Suddenly, the black dragon raised its head and looked at the sky. It suddenly squinted and a different light flashed in its eyes. Was that little Nine's breath just now? His little Nine had long been carved into his memories. Even if she was 1,000 miles apart, it could notice her presence. Swish. Suddenly, the black dragon leaped out of the deep pool. Water splashed everywhere. He leaped into the void and black mist appeared all around it. Its entire body was elongated in the black mist. A handsome young man slowly walked out of the black mist. The young man looked delicate and handsome. He was tall as he stood naked with his snow-white skin glinting under the reflection of the sunlight. The 2 servants had already lowered their heads, not daring to look at this young man who was as domineering as a king directly. They did not even dare to take a peek as they kneeled on the ground. The corner of the young man's lips curled upward into a moving smile. He raised his hand and a black robe nearby fell into his hands. In less than a moment, it was already draped around his body. I'm still not used to humans' clothes. However, if I don't wear clothes when I seek little Nine, she will definitely beat me up. It was just an animal that was condensed from spiritual qi. How could it be like humans wearing clothes and eating food? 1,000 years ago, every time he appeared naked before little Nine, she would knock him down to the ground and bash him up violently. However, the more violent little Nine was, the more he liked her. Compared to being a person, I feel that days of being a dragon or a dog are much more comfortable. There is someone to take care of me and there is no need to wear clothes. So annoying. Furthermore, there would always be people feeding me. However, I have no choice. Little Nine is human. If I don't turn myself into a human, what qualifications do I have to pursue little Nine? The black dragon turned to look at the servant girls kneeling on the ground. His brows were proud and showy with an insufferable arrogance. Go and clean up my cave. Little Nine is about to return soon. Me for extra chapters. Yes. The servant girls lowered their heads as they replied respectfully. The black dragon glanced at the servant girls, turned around and went forward without looking back, disappearing into the clouds in a blink of an eye. At the same time, in the Spirit Beast Mountain range, a fierce howl suddenly rang out. Just as Feng Ruching raised her eyes to take a look, she saw a mighty fierce lion pouncing over, opening its big mouth just about to bite down on her. Nanxian's gaze turned cold slightly. Just as he was about to take action, a long arrow flew through the air, and with a hiss, pierced into the lion's head. Blood splattered everywhere as the lion crumbled to the ground with a rumble. Feng Ruching was slightly stunned. Are the spirit beasts here all so brutal? They did not seem to be as cute as the spirit beasts from Tsangyu mainland. No matter what, seeing these spirit beasts, she missed the snow wolf a little. Feng Ruching slowly raised her head and looked in the direction in which the arrow came from. Suddenly, a handsome face that seemed to have been carved to perfection appeared before her. The man was dressed in green, looking mighty, outstanding, and wise. A bow was in his hand. His skin was the tone of wheat, and his lips were thin like a knife. Chapter 1453. Feng Lianqing to Big Brother Feng. Behind the man, a group of people slowly appeared. Besides those guards, the most eye-catching person was an elegant young maiden dressed in green. She walked to Feng Lianqing's side and lowered her head to look at the lion lying in the middle of a pool of blood as her beautiful brows furrowed slightly. We still need to find the young prince, His Highness. Don't waste time here with unrelated people. Yesterday the young prince, His Highness, had disappeared. Feng Lianqing was also coincidentally free from any tasks in Wushang City, and thus, Tianya had sent him to search for the young prince. This spirit beast mountain range was so big. Who knew where the little prince had run off to? Perhaps he had been swallowed by some spirit beasts. The young maiden pouted. She did not have any positive feelings toward that domineering and unruly little fatty. In her eyes, this walking calamity should be swallowed by spirit beasts. It was just that. When the young maiden raised her eyes to look at the two people in front of her, she paused, stopping at Nan Xian's handsome and cold face. She was unable to avert her gaze a little. "Leonie, let's go." Feng Lianqing, on the other hand, did not seem to notice too much. He had just coincidentally seen a spirit beast acting fiercely and had lifted a hand in assistance. He also did not wish to obtain any kind of repayment. "Wait," Leonie suddenly stopped Feng Lianqing. Her gaze was concentrated on Nan Xian from the beginning to the end and had never left. "This master just now, Big Brother Feng, saved you. We plan to see a good deed through till the end. This spirit beast mountain range is too dangerous. Why don't you and your wife journey with us? I'll also make it easier for us to see the good deed through till the end." Feng Lianqing was speechless. He glanced at Leonie, baffled. This girl is usually not so nosy, and now she is talking about seeing a good deed through to the end? When has she ever done a good deed? "No need," Nan Xian frowned. Just as he finished speaking, Feng Ruching suddenly pinched his wrist and smiled slightly. "Sure." Hearing this, Nan Xian looked at Feng Ruching. Seeing the smile on the young maiden's face, he also did not say anything else, equating to consenting to her actions. He trusted Qing'er. Qing'er definitely had her reasons for doing so. He just needed to believe in her. That was enough. Leonie slowly let out a sigh of relief as she wore a smile on her pretty face. She looked at Feng Lianqing. "Big Brother Feng doesn't mind, right?" Feng Lianqing was speechless. Me for extra chapters. He really minded. However, seeing Feng Ruching's abdomen, he sighed gently. "Just forget it. Just be a good person to the end. Since this lady is pregnant, then just protect her along her journey, in case she meets with the same kind of danger. I am Feng Lianqing. How shall I address the two of you?" Feng Ruching raised her brow. "How coincidental. My surname is also Feng. I am Feng Ruching. He is my husband, Nan Xian. Indeed, how coincidental. Our meeting today can also be considered fated. The two of you should just follow us. Although our journey is a little dangerous, the two of you being in this spirit beast mountain range alone would be even more dangerous." A smile hung on the man's face as he said gently. Feng Ruching hesitated and asked, "The spirit beasts in the spirit beast mountain range, are they very cruel?" "Spirit beasts are always cruel." Feng Lianqing smiled. "Because weak spirit beasts are unable to survive. Those that look good might still be able to become pets for humans, but those with weak cultivation, they would only become food for humans and would be rejected by other spirit beasts, making it tough for them to be unable to survive." His statement was met with silence. Those little wolves like the snow wolf would immediately be captured to become food after arriving at Land of No Return? It seemed like it was a good decision not to have allowed the snow wolf to follow them on this expedition. How great was it to have allowed it to stay safely in Tsangyu mainland and be the wolf butler? Even if the humans did not bully it, it was likely that these spirit beasts of the same species would not have allowed it to live. It was just too pitiful. Chapter 1454. The Little Snake's Violent Temper. Leonie, what on earth are you doing? When Feng Ruqing and the rest were not paying attention, Feng Lianqing dragged Leonie to the side coldly. I never knew you are such a busybody. For example, when he had saved the two people just now, Leonie had even disdained him for wasting time. Not to mention, letting others join them in their journey. Leonie glanced at Nan Xian from the corner of her eyes. Her heart immediately skipped a few beats, but her expression remained unchanging. Nothing. We should see a good deed through to the end. They are not safe in this place, so why not journey together? Feng Lianqing was speechless. He really did not believe that Leonie would be so kind. He did not have any positive feelings about Leonie, but neither did he have any bad feelings. After hearing her say so, he did not say anything more and refocused his eyes ahead. Let's continue walking. Not far behind, Feng Ruqing was casually following after the people in front. Her gaze remained on Leonie from the beginning to the end. It was not known what she was thinking. Nan Xian, aren't you going to ask me why? Nan Xian paused and smiled slightly. If you wish to talk about it, naturally you would tell me. If you don't wish to talk about it, I will not ask too much. Oh. Feng Ruqing squinted. Don't you feel that this woman is a little familiar? Familiar? Nan Xian looked at Liania's back for a long time, trying to recall exactly where he had seen her before. Could it be that she had seduced Qinger before? Suddenly, Nan Xian's heart grew cold, and even the way he looked at Liania's back was cold. Coincidentally, Lianie turned her head back and met the man's gaze at this moment. Her heart leaped out of control. Her face had turned red as well. She immediately retracted her gaze as she nervously twisted her sleeve. Just now, was he peeking at her? If it were any other man when his wife was pregnant and he was still sneaking a look at her, she would definitely disdain and hate it. However, now she only had delight in her heart. Me for extra chapters. This man was just too beautiful. He was the most beautiful amongst all the men she had ever seen. He was so beautiful that one could not forget him after a single glance and could not help but wish to press him beneath her body. Originally, she saw that this man already had a wife and just wished to take a few more looks at him, and that was why she had asked him to journey together. However, she never thought that he actually had some interest in her. Otherwise, why was he sneakily looking at her? I don't feel so. Behind, Nan Xian spoke seriously. Qinger, you have definitely seen it wrongly. I don't think she looks familiar. Don't you feel that? Feng Ruqing's eyes had an odd light. She looks a little like Tang Yin. However, Tang Yin was a beast man. The one before them was human. She and Tang Yin also had very different styles. Tang Yin was cute and pretty, easily likable. This girl was a little too valiant. Her brows were fierce and majestic like a female general's. However, her features were a little like Tang Yin. If it were not because she was very familiar with Tang Yin, she would not have noticed it at a glance either. State Preceptor, I believe in my intuition. Feng Ruqing raised her brows. Furthermore, Xiaoye is missing. I must find her. She would not give up even if there were just a thread of hope. She was worried that if she gave up, Xiaoye would be in danger. Back then, when the two of them had just met, Xiaoye was riddled in wounds. The wounds were so terrible that it was hard to bear. She could not let her endure this kind of pain again. Nan Xian was stunned. He took another look at Leonie, trying to see which part of her looked like Tang Yin. However, no matter how he tried to dig through his mind, he could not recall exactly what Tang Yin looked like, and so he eventually gave up. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.